The governor says Florida's booming, but Orlando is burning. Contract cancellations just hit 19.4%, one of the highest rates in the nation. Insurance premiums are topping $12,000 a year. 7 insurers went insolvent in 12 months. Families are losing their life savings 72 hours before closing. This isn't a correction. This is a collapse. And the man who promised you paradise, he's gone silent. In 2019, Orlando was predictable. Median home prices hovered under $280,000. Buyers negotiated, took their time with inspections, locked in 4% mortgages. Migration added 1,000 new residents every week. The market was balanced. Then, the pandemic hit. Remote work eliminated geography. Workers from New York, Chicago, and Boston poured in with cash. Bidding wars became routine. Median prices shot past $320,000 by early 2021, then surged to $390,000 by summer 2022, a $110,000 leap in 2 years. Brokers hyped Orlando as crash-proof. Radio ads promised instant equity. But beneath the frenzy, warning signs flickered. By mid-2022, the average household needed to spend 45% of income just to buy at median price. Affordability slipped out of reach. And it's not just Orlando. The contagion is spreading. This is the story of a market that believed its own lies. Mortgage rates under 3% poured fuel on the fire. Investors and flippers joined the chase, snapping up condos and single-family homes. New construction couldn't keep up. Builders reported waiting lists stretching months. Brokerage meetings turned into celebrations of record deals. But here's what they weren't saying. The fundamentals were breaking. By mid-2022, Orlando households were spending nearly 45% of income on housing, well above the 30% threshold financial advisors call sustainable. That's the equivalent of earning $60,000 a year and spending $27,000 just to keep a roof over your head. The math stopped working, and yet the buying continued. Why? Because everyone believed the story. Florida is different. Florida is a refuge. Florida doesn't crash. The governor reinforced this narrative at every turn, touting the state as a tax haven and a safe bet. But narratives don't pay mortgages. And when the cracks started showing, they didn't just fracture, they exploded. But here's what they're not telling you about the insurance collapse. But the real killer wasn't rates, it was risk. Insurance agents spent 2023 and 2024 fielding frantic calls as premium notices arrived with eye-watering numbers. $7,500, $9,200, even $12,000 a year for a standard single-family home. That's $1,000 a month, just for insurance. 7 Florida insurers, including FedNat, St. John's, and Southern Fidelity, went insolvent in just over a year. More than 400,000 policies were canceled or transferred. Carriers that remained pulled back sharply. The state's insurer of last resort, Citizens Property Insurance, became the fallback for thousands. But Citizens began reducing its policy count, shifting more than 330,000 customers to thinly capitalized private carriers through forced depopulation. These new policies came with steep premiums and limited coverage, often excluding hurricane or water damage entirely. Think about that. You're in Florida, hurricane capital of America, and your insurance doesn't cover hurricanes. It's like buying a car with no brakes. In Orange County, non-renewal notices hit nearly 3% of all policies each year. The hardest blows landed in zip codes like 32789 and 32822, where entire neighborhoods suddenly found themselves uninsurable or facing deductibles over $10,000. Buyers under contract routinely saw their quoted premiums double or triple before closing. Mortgage underwriters now required binding insurance commitments before approving loans. Deals collapsed when agents couldn't secure a binder, sometimes days before the moving truck arrived. By early 2025, internal brokerage reports tied 12 to 18% of all contract cancellations directly to insurance failures. Some zip codes topped 25%. For many Orlando families, the dream of home ownership didn't die at the negotiating table or the inspection. It died when the insurance bill arrived and revealed the true cost of living in a state where climate risk and carrier exodus have made coverage financially impossible. Then came the couples who lost it all. In April 2024, a retired couple from Maitland signed a contract on a single-story ranch listed at $540,000. They put down a $15,000 deposit, most of their liquid savings. Their agent assured them the numbers penciled out. The initial insurance quote came in just under $4,000. It fit the budget. They set a closing date, started packing. 3 weeks before closing, the insurance agent called. The carrier had withdrawn from Florida effective immediately. The only replacement policy available came in at $9,200 a year with a $10,000 hurricane deductible and water damage excluded. The lender refused to clear the loan without full coverage. The couple scrambled, called every agency in the city. Each quote came back higher or was denied outright due to the home's roof age. With the insurance contingency period expired, they faced two impossible choices: accept the unaffordable policy and stretch their fixed income to the breaking point, or walk away and forfeit the $15,000 deposit. They chose to back out. The seller refused to release the escrow, citing a missed deadline. Mediation dragged on for weeks. The couple lost the full deposit, erasing years of financial security. Local agents report dozens of similar cases since the start of 2024, most involving older buyers blindsided by insurance shocks late in the process. And then the governor's silence became deafening. The governor spent years celebrating Florida's real estate boom and touting the state as a refuge from high taxes. He now faces a crisis in Orlando that threatens not just the housing market, but the entire regional economy. The same governor who promised stability is now facing the collapse he ignored. State legislators passed insurance reforms aimed at keeping carriers from fleeing, but they failed to address the fundamental problem of climate risk. Premiums continue to climb. Coverage continues to shrink. The governor's response? Blame trial lawyers, blame insurance fraud, blame assignment of benefits abuse. But those explanations ring hollow for families losing deposits and retirees watching their equity evaporate. Now, the bodies are piling up: contracts, dreams, deposits. Mortgage rates climbing from under 3% to over 7% by early 2024 added another crushing layer. A $400,000 home that once required a monthly principal and interest payment of about $1,685 now demands nearly $20,700, a 60% jump in just 2 years. That's an extra $1,000 a month, or $12,000 a year, enough to buy a used car. The math no longer works for thousands of families. Lenders tighten standards, wary of approving loans for applicants already stretched by rising insurance and property taxes. First-time buyers found themselves locked out completely. By early 2025, the mood inside Orlando's top brokerages had shifted to outright alarm. In May, over 30% of pending deals collapsed before reaching the closing table, a figure that dwarfed the previous high of 19% set during the post-recession years. Nearly 1 in 3 contracts was falling apart week after week. Senior brokers described chaos where lenders balked at ever-widening appraisal gaps, refusing to bridge the $25,000 or $30,000 difference between contract and appraised value. One veteran agent with 3 decades in Orange County real estate put it bluntly: "I've never seen this many walkaways. Most are due to insurance. Either the property can't be covered, or the premium comes in so high it kills the deal on the spot." In April, the cancellation rate hit 19.4%, compared to a national average of just over 14%. By June, zip codes 3D22789, 32822, and 32837 top 25% failure rates. Inventory is exploding, but no one's buying. By mid-2025, Orlando's housing supply surged. Active listings climbed nearly 80% for condos and more than a third for single-family homes compared to the year before. Condo listings alone topped 3,500 units, the highest since before the pandemic. Builders who once raced to keep up with demand now find themselves with rows of unsold homes. Projects slated for completion in 2024 were quietly paused or shelved. A leaked email from a Lennar spokesperson described the company's Orlando pipeline as overstocked and undercontracted, citing a 40% drop in new reservations since the start of the year. D.R. Horton's regional office offered deep incentives, mortgage rate buydowns, free upgrades, even cash at closing. Fewer takers each month. The dream of instant equity? Gone. The promise of a crash-proof market? Shattered. And the political rhetoric that sustained it all? Exposed. The state that sold itself as a safe haven is now a cautionary tale. The Sun Belt dream is dying. The Sun Belt is burning, and no one's putting out the fire. What really concerns analysts is how Orlando's crash is becoming a warning for the rest of the country. The same pattern of insurance chaos, elevated mortgage rates, and buyer retreat now plays out across Texas and Arizona. In Texas, contract cancellations surged to 22%, nearly 1 in 5 deals collapsing before closing. Investor purchases in Phoenix fell 36% year over year, the sharpest drop since 2015. Institutional buyers slashed acquisitions by more than a third in both Dallas and Austin. Analysts point to rising insurance costs, stagnant rents, and uncertainty about future appreciation. The contagion spreading from Florida isn't limited to coastal markets. It's redefining what constitutes a safe real estate investment anywhere in the Sun Belt. And here's the thing, this isn't just about money. It's about families, retirees, first-time buyers who believed the promise. They were told Florida was different. They were told the boom would never end. They were lied to. Orlando's collapse isn't an accident. It's the inevitable result of a market built on unsustainable fundamentals, political rhetoric, and the refusal to address climate risk. The governor who sold Florida as paradise now oversees its unraveling. Insurance carriers are fleeing. Families are losing deposits. Builders are walking away, and the contagion is spreading to Texas, Arizona, and beyond. This is what happens when you ignore the warning signs, when you prioritize narrative over reality, when you let politics trump policy. Can Orlando recover, or are we watching a market die in real time? Comment below. Do you think the Sunbelt housing market can bounce back, or is this the beginning of a permanent repricing? Subscribe so you don't miss the next shocking chapter.